Court of Calling, Birthing Pod, Collected Company, and Eldritch Evolution. These cards were the backbone and evolution of creature-based combo decks, which had a unique history in Magic, especially in the modern scene. In this video, we're going to explore this evolution as new decks were created from the same seed, Birthing Pod. Abzan Company, Counter Company, Heliod Company, Golgari Yawgmoth. These four decks all originated from one starting point, the Birthing Pod deck. The Birthing Pod deck relied on ramp and powerful creatures to either accelerate out a 3-creature card combo to either gain infinite life or deal infinite damage. Or they could just beat you down with some of the best white, green, and black creatures. To perform the combo, you needed a continual sacrifice outlet, Viscera Seer, which had an activated ability to sacrifice a creature, scry 1. You needed one of 2 persist creatures, either Kitchen Finks or Murderous Redcap, depending on if you were gaining life or dealing damage. And of course, a way to prevent that negative -1/-1 counters from the persist trigger. In this case, we are utilizing Melira Sylvok Outcasts. If you have all 3 creatures out, you can sacrifice Kitchen Finks or Redcap to Viscera Seer. Their persist trigger will go off from the graveyard, returning them to play with a -1/-1 counter. However, Melira prevents them from actually getting -1/-1 counters, so you can do this an infinite number of times. In addition to this 3-card combo, many decks also ran Archangel of Thune and Spike Feeder, a 2-creature combo that would let you gain infinite life and put infinite +1 counters on your creatures. Being creature-based card combo decks, you need powerful tutors to set up this win. Court of Calling and Birthing Pod were these answers. That is, of course, until Birthing Pod was banned in January 2015. According to Wizards of the Coast, the high percentage of the field playing Pod suppressed other decks, especially other creature decks, that have an unfavorable matchup against Pod. In the interest of supporting a diverse format, Birthing Pod was banned. In March of 2015, only 2 months later, Pod fans will see 2 new cards printed. These, of course, were not the same power level as Birthing Pod, but added some replacements and diversity. Anafenza, Kin Tree Spirit, and Collected Company. Anafenza was the second non-legendary copy of Melira, which also added more value to the small creatures that were played in the deck due to its bolster mechanic. The second card, Collected Company, helps speed up your combos. Now you could no longer find cards like Archangel of Thune, but casting a turn 3 Collected Company could often set yourself up with 1 or 2 of your combo creatures. With the inclusion of Collected Company, the deck had to adapt and change. It now had less silver bullets or powerful 1-of creatures like the Birthing Pod days, but instead it relied on creature ramp and speed to get your combo online faster. Being a 3-card combo deck, the deck was still very fragile, and it wasn't until April of 2017 with the release of Amonkhet that we see another change take place, with the release of Vizier of Remedies, essentially retiring Melira altogether. Vizier of Remedies was very similar to Melira, except instead of stating -1/-1 counters can't be placed on the creature, it said 1 less -1/-1 counter would be placed on the creature instead, which made for the perfect pairing with an old school druid known as Devoted Druid. When these 2 creatures are on the battlefield, you can make infinite green mana by untapping Devoted Druid as if you were going to place the -1/-1 counter on it, but Vizier of Remedies says place 1 less instead. What are you going to do with all this mana? Well, you can dump it into a Walking Ballista and just shoot your opponent down. This deck became known as Counter Company. The next big shakeup came in 2019 and 2020 with Modern Horizons and Theros Beyond Death. These 2 sets branched off 2 similar yet different decks within this creature-based combo sphere of Modern. Modern Horizons released Yawgmoth, Thran Physician, and revitalized that old Persist style decks with a twist. This time, players utilize the undying mechanics from creatures like Yawgmoth or Strangleroot Geist. When they die, they would get +1/+1 counters placed on them and returned from the graveyard. That is, of course, if they didn't already have a +1/+1 counter on them when they died. Yawgmoth is happy to pay life to place -1/-1 counters on your creatures, letting them die again and again. Of course, if you have a Zulaport Cutthroat out, you can inflict death by 1,000 cuts. Theros Beyond Death brought back our old forgotten life gain combo creature, Spike Feeder. Now that we have access to a better version of Archangel of Thune, I'm of course talking about Heliod Suncrown. Spike Feeder, of course, lets you go wide and place those +1 counters on everything. And now that's pretty powerful, but maybe we're looking to end the game a little bit quicker. So let's make sure we follow the lead of our Counter Company deck with a win using Walking Ballista. All you need is a Walking Ballista with 2 counters on it, Heliod the Suncrowned out to give it lifelink, and away you go. Remove a counter from Walking Ballista, deal 1 lifelink damage to your opponent, which triggers Heliod to put an additional +1 counter on Ballista, and your opponent's life slowly disappears. Creature-based combos are still alive and well in 2023, and even though they started from that original Birthing Pod deck, the meta is so different from 2015 that it makes me wonder, could Birthing Pod be unbanned in today's meta? Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think. Would you like to see Birthing Pod back in the modern meta?